Hi everyone. Hard to believe we're on starting week 7. This is only the second to last video I'll make for you. This is a new lecture that I've added for this class. I've been dabbling a lot in social media, teaching it to students, talking to other faculty and other people about it. And the one thing that I've really realized is the more that you play with it, the more you know it. And the more you start seeing its utility really. Seeing that maybe I can use this for journalism. In the lecture, I try to kind of summarize 3 simple points that I see how social media can be beneficial for journalism. Be objective about it. I mean, if you think it's completely silly, then let me know that in your blog post for this week. That's kind of why we're doing these things, but I just want you to critically evaluate it and think about what's going on. If you have any questions about the lecture, please let me know. In other matters, this week's quiz number 7, is going to focus on Yahoo News. Just news.yahoo.com, and I'll put a link down here at the bottom. Yahoo News has a really interesting history. When they first, Yahoo started out as a portal, and the idea was here's a starting place for people who are getting on the internet. They saw quickly, though, that that wasn't all that they could do. If they were getting a lot of people, the idea was maybe we can provide them more than just web content. Maybe let's start providing them research, original content. They hired a Yahoo News team that included Kevin Seitz, who was a very influential reporter during the Gulf War. He was embedded with a Marine unit. And they did a lot of really interesting things with providing news content. Working with Politico, they interviewed George W. Bush. But then when the economy soured, they backed off from that plan. They let go most of their staff on the news department. One of their staff members was a good friend of mine. They let him go. He was really discouraged too because he thought we're doing such great things. And it's funny, now that the economy's turned around, I'm sure, I haven't asked him about this, but I'm sure he's thinking Yahoo should have just tried to ride it out, because now they're hiring again. Now they're going back to this philosophy of let's provide more original content. And that's why I picked them for this week. I think it's a good last website to look at because it combines a lot of the things we've done. It's got the headlines like CNN and New York Times, for those of you mainly uses Reuters and AP, but it also combines with some citizen journalism, some blogs. 2 blogs that I want you to pay attention to specifically are The Starting Point, which is an article that the editors select each week as kind of a way to say, okay, if you only need to read one article this week, read this one. And then there's bullet points at the end about other things you might be interested in. I find that one interesting. And The Upshot is a blog written by staff members at Yahoo. And it's kind of their impressions, their ideas as they go through and aggregate the content that appears on Yahoo News' homepage. And I think there's some interesting opinions, but also some interesting facets of the news that you might not see in other news organizations. The other thing I need to mention is on Tuesday of this week, July 20th, the rough drafts for your final projects are due. Please make sure that you submit those to the Blackboard place, the assignment where they're due. And I've also created a new thread on the discussion board where I'd like you to paste a copy of your rough draft. Because one assignment that you'll have to do next week is to go over someone else's rough draft. I'll post that on Monday so you can see who's looking at. There'll be some questions you'll need to answer, and then you'll be assigned a person whose rough draft I want you to read. Go through, be complimentary, but also be critical. We're doing this to help each other out. And by all means, make sure you hand in something as your rough draft, even if you're not finished. Even if all you have is a lead and an outline. Hand that in so that we can look at it. My goal on Tuesday is to spend all day reading those. Make sure I get those back to you, either late Tuesday night or early Wednesday, so you have plenty of feedback as you finish up your projects. Then your projects will be due at the end of week 8, which, looking at my calendar here, is your total projects are due Friday, July 30th before midnight, and that includes your story and the multimedia elements that are discussed on Blackboard. Now, because there's a lot to do in the next 2 weeks, I still have discussion board and blog posts due, but these are light blog posts. Make sure that you fulfill the requirements. Like for this week, get your links. But beyond that, don't write a lot. Just keep your blog post short and to the point. The discussion board next week, there's no links required. For the blog post, there are links required, but I'm just asking you to do like 3 links of resources that other people in the class might think are useful. And for that, you can do a bullet point. Here's the link. Here's a brief explanation of that. Do 3 of those. Get that out and done and settled. That's all I have for this week then. If you have any questions, you know where to contact me. I included all my contact information, my Twitter account and my Facebook at the end of the lecture this week. So if you want to add me as a friend, that'd be great. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you next week.